Hey everybody, so I was just making the yogurt video and I decided that it was finally sauerkraut time. I've been putting it off. I'd bought this cabbage a while ago, did not make sauerkraut yet, just sauteed some of it for breakfast earlier. But I ended up going to the auto parts store in town to order an EGR valve for that truck. And then I went ahead and went and did that grocery run. And so I bought another cabbage because the cabbage was on sale for 79 cents. So that cabbage that you saw earlier was a little shy of 3 pounds. So all I did is I chopped it up, I put it in this bowl with 1.5 tablespoons of non-iodized sea salt. This is actually a coarser Korean sea salt that I have in here that I use for kimchi making and for all my ferments. Okay, that I get from bulk at the Asian market when I go in every once in a while. But so what's going to happen when you mix the salt with the sauerkraut? Some people sit there and massage it for a while to help get all the juices out of the sauerkraut because I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but there's a little bit of liquid kind of settling at the bottom of the jar, but more and more moisture is going to be getting pulled out of this cabbage from the salt. So, instead of letting it rest in the bowl for that process, I keep my windows and my doors open without, they don't have screens on them, like my doors that I'm keeping open. And so I do have flies come into my house. Well, shoot, I gotta set this down again. Sorry, guys, I got this bad habit. But I just want to, well, I guess maybe before I do that, I'll just show you how heavily, like, this is super packed in there right now. But what is gonna happen is that this level is gonna go down even more as the liquids get pulled out from the cabbage. And so this spring is going to end up decompressing some. But what I am going to want to do before I go to bed tonight is I am actually going to end up, I don't want this decompressing too much and only having half a container of sauerkraut. So I'm probably going to end up, I'm going to put this back in the fridge for now, but I'm going to end up chopping more of this and also mixing it with salt and then topping up my jars since I'm not letting it rest all the way right now. And then before bed, I'm going to add some saltwater brine to this. Okay, now these spring kits, these spring and lid compressor kits, it helps hold down the sauerkraut, the cabbage, so that it's not floating at the top. And the thing is that you want to make it so that the saltwater brine completely covers all the cabbage. Okay, and as it ferments, the cabbage will get squashed down by the spring, so you want this spring as fully compressed as possible. Okay, and again, it's better to usually let the cabbage wilt down more before you pack the jars, but I don't really want to, I mean, I guess I could get like a towel and all that, or sit there and massage the cabbage more, but I don't really feel like doing that. And then what was the other thing that I was going to say? There's something else. Oh yeah, anyways, I showed you guys these. I really like these for anything that I've made kimchi in or whatever. You can put these on a half-gallon jar, so you could actually do 2 half-gallon jars with just one of these kits. Okay, but you do just want to make sure that you have enough stuff to pack the jars all the way. Okay, so these they also sell for cheaper. I much prefer, I don't know why, I really like these. I do buy these as backups in case I do need to, let's say, take all my chickens out of the freezer and turn them into confit in some sort of power loss emergency. I keep extras of these, okay? You also need extra fat on hand, like a big tub of coconut oil or something if you want to do that. Because a lot of, some things are not going to have enough fat in them to turn them into confits without actually having extra fat, lard, or coconut oil or something to coat them in. Now, if you want to do bigger crocks of sauerkraut, they do have fermenting crocks, and then you can do things like you take these leaves and you break it up, whatever you've peeled off, but not the very outer leaves, and you set them down on top, and then you weigh down on top of that, and that wholer leaf helps hold down all the little shreds, okay? These little spring kits are much more fail-proof than not, but the one thing is if you are doing big crocks and you get the little ceramic kind of weights, I forget what it's made out of exactly, but it's kind of a porous material. And so the other interesting thing about those is even after you take them out between batches, they kind of end up storing some of the fermentation bacteria in the weights. But anyways, it's real easy. It's just cabbage, water, salt. You can make your own recipes, add all sorts of different vegetables in there, shred some carrots up in there, all sorts of different stuff. And then what you can do later after you make your lacto-fermented, alive, nice and living sauerkraut is you can also add some other things to it, like some mayonnaise and sugar and whatnot, and turn it into coleslaw. Okay? And then it's not just going to be, some processed coleslaw. You're going to have a live lacto-fermented coleslaw. That's going to be a nutrient powerhouse. But anyways, I'm tired. I got to clean this up. And again, let's see. I mean, it hasn't pulled out too much more of the brine yet. So we'll see. But basically, I'm going to end up, as this kind of tamps down a little bit over the next, 2 hours or so, I'll just super pack it in with some more shredded cabbage and salt. Usually I would have maybe just I guess this one cabbage ended up kind of fitting into these 2 jars perfectly. It's just not going to be quite enough if I want them nice and full as the cabbage kind of starts collapsing. The cell walls will kind of start collapsing a little bit from the salt pulling some of the liquids out. Anyways, I'm kind of babbling. It's mostly from exhaustion. But it's easy, guys. These kits help make it easy. Again, sometimes, I don't know, I feel a little bit paranoid about storing lacto-fermented things under metal lids. So I do really like these. And these are reusable. They'll last forever as long as you just don't abuse them and you take care of them proper and they don't get chewed up by a dog or something, okay? So this kit is under $10. It's very handy. And then once the fermentation process is over, well, the other thing is when I go to ferment these, you want to set them in a bowl or a plate or something because you are going to want to fill the brine up quite full. And what's going to happen as air bubbles form in here, okay, from the kind of bacterial process, as these air bubbles form, it's going to end up forcing some of that liquid out of this top. Okay, this is a one-way top where it's going to force the liquids out, but it's not going to let stuff in. Okay, so if you just put this on your counter full of brine and let it start fermenting, you're going to end up with brine all over your counter. So just put it in a bowl. It'll be much better that way, trust me. But then once it's done, even if you don't finish it for a more mature countertop, you can just start it off for a few days. Let's say you had some that you wanted to not over ripen, not super over ferment. You would just, instead of, fermenting it for a whole week on the counter, depending on what your ambient temperatures are, you would maybe just get it started, a good start for 3 days, put a normal lid on it. Maybe don't crank down the lid 100%. But again, also be aware that it might leak more in the fridge. So you might still want to keep it in a bowl in the fridge, but you could put it in the fridge sooner so that it won't end up quite as fermented. Because let's say you're making a bunch of this, some of it you maybe want to eat right away. Some of it you might not be getting to for 2 months or something, depending on if you're making enough right before winter to tide you over for the winter. But I'm just going to start having a forkful or 2 of this with my eggs in the morning. And yeah, it's going to be good. It's cheap, healthy. Goodbye.